Welcome back, all my 40K fanatics out there. I'm DJ here at Tim's Nation. And for those who are just finding us for the first time, welcome. Here at Tim's Nation, we are a Warhammer 40K channel focused on all sorts of different things for Warhammer 40K, primarily the competitive aspect. But while we are a competitive channel, Lane and myself do not focus on just simply the meta and the meta armies. No, we try to break it and go into units, realms, army lists of all sorts of different variety and bring a bunch of random stuff onto the channel to test it out, try it out, and see if we can find that diamond in the rough. We love all our commentary and comments that we get, and we utilize that to try to drive more content here on the channel. With that being said, we do weekly battle reports, and for the weekly battle reports, I release the videos on Tuesday describing our armies. And then just the battle report by itself on Wednesday. And finally, a wrap-up talking about the game and giving a synopsis on Thursdays. More on that later. We want to start working on those more in the future. For this video, this is actually my army list video that I would normally post on a Tuesday, and I will be going back to that. However, this is going to be a unique special treat for this one because we are going and tapping back into the Adeptus Mechanicus. And with this video, I do want to talk about some of the changes we've seen with Ad Mech and bring my first list to the forefront. Now, big reason I'm putting this out here this early is because I want some feedback. I want some support. I want some conversation, everything else. Now, before Monday's video, Monday's game that will be airing on Wednesday, before that, I will not be changing this list. I will leave this list alone and play the game. But after that first initial game, after I get this matchup into lane and we play and I test out this army, when I go and start rolling through the feedback and stuff like that, the comments, the commentary, and the input from everyone out there is going to be taken highly in account because then that next weekend, I will be traveling for another tournament. And this tournament's got a little bit of blood to it. Those who have been following the channel know that a Mr. Samuel Dayton, Sam Dayton, as many know him, has made a lot of negative, harsh, vicious, yet friendly, remarks about the Adeptus Mechanicus, and I feel the need to avenge the Mechanicus. And what better time than with the recent data slates and all the changes. So that's what we're going to do. So for those who are new to the channel, please subscribe, turn on the bell to get notified on all the content we're bringing here on the channel. And as I mentioned with this video, with these army videos, what we do is initially I ramble for a couple seconds, talk about this, talk about what I plan on playing, what I'm planning on bringing, and then jump over in the army list, giving photographs and discussing each individual unit for a more detailed analysis. So where some battle reports you get just a quick loadout, a quick screenshot or snapshot of it, we do that as well for our battle reports. We also like to take the time and actually give a deep dive into this list for why we're doing what we're doing to help the community grow and help ourselves grow as gamers because we love the input that we get. Today, it's going to be about the Adeptus Mechanicus. Now, for those who don't know, Mechanicus got a bunch of boosts in the data slates as of recent. The changing to the Doctrina, and while it does sadden me to lose the pseudo armor of contempt from the Protector Doctrina, everything else is pretty nasty and boosted. So it's like, oh, you lost this, but you got 100 other things. So that's going to be very, very nice to see, and to see how some of these things play out over the course of the game and the course of the matchups. All in all, some of the points went up, though. So the armies and lists that I was running before, instead of adding units, I had to take stuff away because of these boosts in power and this buffs. So that's what led me down this road. And the list that I am playing is going to be the Cybernetic Cohort. I was between the Skitarii Hunter Cohort, I believe is what it's called, and the Cybernetic Cohort. Between the two, the data sheet ability for the Hunters Cohort is very, very strong. And for a lot of my army, it would be giving them the -1 to hit for stealth for the majority of my army. But then when you get to the stratagems to me and to fit my playstyle seemed very, very weak. The Feel No Pain was nice, especially for some of my unit choices, and I like that one a lot. I think that's very, very strong. But offensively, it wasn't there, at least for me. Spending 2 command points to try to have 2 units that can shoot at 1 unit to do damage. We're taking 10-man squads, are very small. I didn't see a lot of value behind that personally. I do like the one, I believe it is called Isolate and Destroy or something similar, which basically if one of your enemy units is nowhere near 6 inches of another one, you can then get a boost for only 1 command point and do more damage to them. That one's also nice. And of course, being able to pick up your units, the up-down strat that they have at access, that allows you to pick up the Sicarian units, 2 of them, or one of your other Skitarii infantry units. Only infantry. Now, a lot of that was really cool. A lot of speed. I see a lot of decent things there. But in the end, the damage output seemed lacking. I feel like vehicles could still be an issue unless you have specific things in the build. At top of it, there are units I want to run. You know, there are things that I like about Ad Mech that I would like to run. And so putting those units on the table and looking at them and going, which one's better? Cybernetic Cohort was the one for me. Now you notice in my list that I only have 1 squad of robots because the actual data sheet and detachment ability gives 1 Lego Cybernetica, which is the Kastelan Robots, the ability to have Doctrina. Okay, very cool for the robots. But all in all, you might look at it and go, but you have one, you're taking an entire detachment for 1 unit to get that ability. And you're right. Minus 1 thing. Every single stratagem in that detachment, to me, is gold. It is fire. It is amazing. And we'll talk about those as we talk about the units and everything else and what I have access to and being able to use. And that was the final decision for me, was the stratagems. All right, teased it enough. Let's talk about let's introduce you to the list, my Adeptus Mechanicus of the Cybernetic Cohort. All right, everyone, here is my Adeptus Mechanicus of the Cybernetic Cohort. This army will always have a special place in my heart for many, many reasons. One of which, these Dragoons that you see here, these things were eaten by a Great Dane. They were crunched, mushed, everything, mangled. And I sat there scraping bits and pieces to reassemble these guys to make them functional. So these guys hold a special place in my heart. I love my Dragoons. This entire army holds a lot of special places in my heart. A lot of great memories with this on different competitive circuits and different major events. So I always will have a soft spot for this army. And what I like is this is going in the direction of the units that I want to use, which was the biggest thing. One of the biggest thing I talk about on the channel is you got to have fun with the models you want to play. And that's going to all in all make your army do better right off rip. If you enjoy the units that you're playing and using, your army is going to already do better than using units that you don't want to use. If you're not happy and you're not excited about putting these models on the table for whatever reason, you're already going to have yourself in a negative headspace and you're not going to be as successful with the army if you just played what you wanted to play. And I feel that is a very, very, you can tell me I'm wrong, but I feel that's a very important part of this game. You got to play the models and the army and the unit you love. And that's what this army has. Everything of Ad Mech that I truly, truly love. For starters, we have the Kastelan Robots, which are the only unit in my army that actually gets my detachment ability, which is the Legio Cybernetica, which means that they get the Doctrina. Now let's talk about the Doctrina real quick, okay? So the Doctrina changed. You have the offensive, the protectorate, the defensive, I should say, Doctrina. This gives you all of your weapons have heavy. So you pick this at the beginning of the battle round. Your entire army with Doctrina gets this. So every unit in my army does have Doctrina, so we're good there. Because now the Cybernetic Cohort. If you pick the Protectorate, then you have all your guns have heavy. Cool. You also get +1 ballistic skill, not to hit, +1 ballistic skill. That is critical because if you do have the ability to go +1 to hit, like heavy does, you can go all the way up to 2s to hit. Last is the battle line buff, the new one. So for the Protectorate, the battle line buff is if you are within 6 inches of a battle line unit, you get our -1 to hit in melee. That's going to be pretty cool, especially with a lot of melee armies in the game right now and a lot of melee sources. To be able to go -1 like that is very, very nice. And we have ways to be able to proc both Doctrina. Speaking of both Doctrina, there is a second form you can take, which is their offensive, the offensive Doctrina, which is the more aggressive one, called the Conqueror Imperative. So the Conqueror Imperative, first of all, it gives you assault on all your weapons. So now you can advance and still shoot, which is pretty cool. You also get +1 weapon skill. Now, looking at all that stuff that has 4s to hit and 4 weapon skills, we're changing that. Now we have 3s if we're going combat. Okay, cool. And again, ways to go both on that. Last, if you are within 6 inches of a battle line unit, you get, when you make an attack, you get +1 AP. I've looked this up and down. Make an attack. So that is shooting or fighting, an additional AP. Ranger rifles at AP1. Granted, yes, you'd be hitting on 4s, but Ranger rifles at AP1. Marshals can give rerolls. I don't have any in here, but there are options there. So those are some things to keep in mind. I'm going to talk to those a lot. I'm going to say offensive Doctrina and defensive Doctrina when I refer to them, because that's usually how I know them in my mind. All right. Robots. Kastelan Robots. These are the only ones that get my datasheet ability, which is to get Doctrina. I am taking a 4-man squad with all Kastelan Fists. The Kastelan Fists are twin linked, so they will automatically be re-rolling their wounds. Now, what the Datasmith gives me is he gives me the ability that at the beginning of the battle round or beginning of the command phase, I can choose to change their protocols. They have a protocol that gives them +1 toughness for T10. I have a protocol that will give them +2 shots with all their guns, or +2 attacks in combat. +2 attacks is more or less going to be very, 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 very useful, especially considering the fact we have the fists. Now, again, like I said, the fists are twin linked at strength 12, and they have 4 attacks apiece. So we'd be having 6 attacks per robot in combat when we switch into that Doctrina for 3 flat damage and an AP2. If we are also in the Assault Doctrina, you're looking at 3s to hit and an additional AP if there's battle line units nearby. Some of the benefits, again, I talked about the stratagems being very strong for this. One stratagem that can give these guys +3 move, +1 advance and charge. Obviously not advancing with them very much, but +1 charge is nice. Going into the shooting Doctrina at any time, that means that the guns on their shoulders that are 3 shots can go to 5 shots and are 2 damage apiece. Only sitting at AP1, but they do ignore cover, which is a happy little medium for that type of gun. The Datasmith in the center, he will have our only enhancement in this army, which is the Necromechanic. The Necromechanic is a enhancement that allows me to basically zero out 1 failed save. So I have to fail the save first. Before you roll the damage and stuff like that, so a D6 +2, I have to say, no, I'm zeroing that right now before you even roll that dice. So yeah, that's a very, very, very strong ability that can help keep the robots alive for a longer time. We do have some access to different Feel No Pains we're going to talk about with this. There's a strat I can use in the command phase to give them a 6-up Feel No Pain, as well as a 5-up Feel No Pain and Mortal Wounds, if that is relevant, depending on what I'm facing off against. I can go into both Doctrinas with these guys for a single command point, and we can boost their shooting if we are out of the shooting Doctrina with a strat and give that to target a unit on an objective marker. So that's also very, very nice that that's still there, so I can kind of double focus with these guys, especially with some of the other abilities I want to use. If I lose a single robot, I have a CP strat that then I can just give the squad reroll hits because the strat targets a unit that's below its starting strength. If I go below half strength, well, that'd be one robot left, and I already have the reroll wounds. But the reroll hits is very nice. All in all, there's a lot that these robots can have. And then, on top of it all, one of my favorite abilities in the entire game, whenever a robot makes an armor save, if I roll a 6, then the unit that is shooting at them, only a shooting attack, the unit is shooting at them, then immediately takes a mortal wound. This is a reflector shield. This is bouncing the wounds back. So yes, if 100 inches away, or whatever it may be, you fire an artillery round over the mountain and hit the Kastelan robots, and I roll a 6, I bounce that bullet, or shell, or shrapnel back over the mountain and do damage to your artillery tank. That is exactly what happens. It is the complete lore of it. No one can tell me different. That's how it works. Moving on to the next unit. So we're going to stay in the vehicle column for a bit, and we're going to go over to the Onager Dune Crawlers. Now, the Onager Dune Crawler just got a very, very nice boost for some of its guns. The Onager already is a nasty to destroy tank. It has a 2-up save, which is crazy for its points, with a 4-up invuln. Its ability is to also give battle line models, that's very important models, a 4-up invuln when they're within 6 inches of them, which is cool because, as you'll see in a bit, I have a lot of battle line units. On these ones, I am taking the neutron laser. The neutron laser went from 2 shots to 3 shots. And instead of being D6 plus 1, it is now D6 plus 2 with strength 16 and an AP minus 4. It has a 4-up ballistic skill. But as we mentioned, we have an easy way of being able to give an additional, we have the plus 1 ballistic skill if we're in the Protectorate Doctrina, the defensive Doctrina. And if we sit still, we're looking at 2s to hit with these things. Some of the strats of effect, if you hurt these guys and just hurt them like 1 wound, I can spend a command point and have 4 rerolls to hit. We can go into the Assault Doctrina. I can advance these guys. They already have a 8-inch move. I can go and advance them and still shoot. 2 stubbers on them because you get a Cognis stub, an additional stubber with the neutron laser plus the Cognis stubber. So I do still have a little bit of spraying shooting coming off these guys as well. Now, it used to have blast. It lost blast for the extra shot. Fine with that. Because that realistically, you'd want to shoot this at. This is an anti-vehicle weapon at strength 16, and that's what role it's going to be in this army. Not to mention just the fact of the sheer size. Now, I have Engineseers in here that can heal these things for D3, as well as giving them a feel no pain. These things are tough to kill. And they also support the battle line units. I did take the broad spectrum data tether, so if I target them with any of these stratagems that I'm talking about, on a 5-up, I will gain the command point back. That's going to be a theme with a couple of units in this army. That's pretty much it for the Dune Crawlers. I've been very happy with them. Some would say, like, wow, you're talking them up so much, why not run 3? They're a large base, which has a really good board coverage, but it can also get in the way of other units easily. I feel like 2 is a sweet spot. I can keep them hidden and move them out when I need them, and also give them the feel no pain. With that, we'll jump over into these guys real quick. We have 2 Engineseers that are coming along with us. Engineseers are cool. They're cheap. Well, relatively cheap. They went up a little bit. They get angry if you blow up a vehicle near them and get double their attacks with their Axe of Messiah. But their big kicker is they have low NOP when near a vehicle, true low NOP, as well as they repair a vehicle for D3 wounds and give it a feel no pain. Now, that is not a shooting attack, so these guys could still complete actions across the board. The feel no pain that they're giving off is a 5-up, by the way. And they can also complete actions on objectives when I start moving the Dune Crawlers upfield, or doing things from corners or sabotage, things, cleanse even. They can do actions and still heal and fix vehicles while moving up the field. Again, yes, the Dune Crawlers are going to be more in the backfield, but there is still that objective marker off to the side that we would like to get to. And in a lot of maps, there is still table edges that are not in your deployment zone for things, for other secondaries and things like that. So these guys are a nice addition to be able to complete those secondaries. Moving back to the vehicles, we will go over into our Dragoons. These guys, there's some nasty, nasty work I can do. So I have a 2-man and a 3-man. Why, you may ask? Initially, when I had 2 3-mans in here, I was at a 22 for Bring It Down. When I dropped 1 Dragoon, I was able to include also more infantry to place secondaries on, and it put me down to an 18 on Bring It Down. Meaning that even if you were to take Bring It Down, Assassinate, Cleanse, Engage on all fronts, I'm not giving up 20 points. And if you do even get close to that 18, you're probably tabling me, and that means that I'm probably losing the game anyways. So I'm not as concerned about it at that point. So it gives me a better fact of I'm not like, oh, I'm winning the game, but you crippled my vehicles, so now I'm giving you 20 on secondaries and I lose the game just because you picked Bring It Down. Now, if we're in having a good heated game and you haven't taken out all my vehicles, that can be a significant chunk of points, especially, if you leave me with 1 Dragoon out of 3-man, you get 0 points. You don't get any of the 6 that you would get normally. So Dragoons, we have all those strats I've talked about. Picking different Doctrina, get them in both Doctrinas. Remember the one that I said that gives you +3 move, +1 advance and charge? These guys can advance and still charge. So you're looking at a unit with a 10-inch move, getting a 13-inch move, and advancing. So 14 plus D6 move, and still able to charge at a +1. When they charge, they have Lance. They're strength 7, which is a very, very nice spot to be, because everything that is toughness 7 or less, they will be wounding decently. Now, anything that is a toughness 6 or less, we're wounding on 2s. Anything that is a toughness 7 or less, or 7, is going to be 3s. And when you get past that, the damage starts to get a little lower. These guys have 4 attacks apiece with sustained 2, AP2, 2 damage. But once we click over into that Assault Doctrina, you're looking at 3s to hit, AP3. Very, very nice. Also, these guys, whenever I use a strat on them, for a 5-up, they can give it back to me. Again, you only can gain 1 CP per turn, but this is another source for that, another dice roll. On top of all of that goodness I've talked about already, all of those cool little abilities and everything else, they are also a still using Tank Shock. They are toughness 7. They have -1 to hit. They are stealth. Very durable, very tough. I love my Dragoons. And with the game having a higher close combat aspect, especially for some of the secondaries and some of the missions and things that we want to do, having units that can push up and forward is, to me, a very good place for us to be with the game right now. All right, we've covered all the vehicles. Let's talk about the infantry. So first of all, we have 1 squad of Traxxas Sterylizors. These are the flamethrower guys. Now I know that some people would say, "Oh, why not take the other squad? The other squad can shoot and move away." Yes, they can. They can shoot, do absolutely nothing, and then move away. And to me, that doesn't do very much. I like the flamers because there's a lot of big buffs that can come out of this one. Now, correct me if I'm wrong about the Overwatch, but I don't believe I am because of how it works. So first of all, these guys, their inherent ability is if they shoot at a unit that is on an objective, they can reroll 1s to wound. If there is a battle line unit within 6 inches of them, they can reroll the wound roll instead. So you make an attack with these flamers, and let's say you're in the Assault Doctrina for a +1 AP. This is a lot of damage. Land, go after a midfield objective. You land, put 46 flamers into the objective at AP -1. Then they go to try and move, and you overwatch and do it again, and you're re-rolling the failed wounds. That's a lot of damage that can be thrown into these guys. I like them. And their jump and their deep strike. And deep strike is something I really wanted to have, especially with some of the secondary missions that I do plan on doing tactical with this army. Next up, the Infiltrators. Guess what they do? They infiltrate. 2 5-man squads. They got a boost to their weapon skill off of this new data sheet. So these guys are a little bit meaner in combat. And these guns I'm equipping with the tasers for the sustained hits. They also have some cool battle shock abilities in combat, which can be nice to turn off the ability to put strats on things, as well as the fact that it can take objectives from people when you're trying to score secondaries and make it in just by taking that objective marker for that turn. Also, they reduce and at that battle shock and give you minuses too, so cool little effects there. Mostly these guys are going to be an early drop off so that I can zone out things so I don't get hit by first turn rushes on things like scout moving berserkers or advance and charging blood angels and space wolves and different things like that. These are units that can go and just mess with a move in an area where if you go and try and charge them and kill them, then you're not going to be in your best staging position, or they're just going to be in your way and you can't go through them. That's their role. That's their goal. They can score secondaries as well, really, really well too, because they infiltrate. I can put them somewhere and say, you have to come over here and get these guys, or I'm just going to score secondaries on this objective or this wall every time it comes up. Next up, we have 2 squads of the Vanguard. So I am going to take the oh man, I'm going to say this, Lane's going to be proud of me on this one, but these all have the sniper rifle in them. The sniper rifle is the Transuranic Arquebus. Said it right. So this weapon also has heavy inherently. It is a precision weapon, strength 7 AP2 D3 damage. Can be kind of annoying against characters. Biggest thing is, as we've seen with 10th edition, you take it for free. So since I'm taking it for free, okay, sure, why not? Can pump it into a character. It might get lucky, especially considering the fact that I have 6 of these in the army. I could end up annoying a character with these things and take a character out of a squad and then leave opponent at a point where they go, okay, now what do? I lost that character. I lost that enhancement. I lost this buff, et cetera, et cetera. It can change a lot of things, you know. Sniping a Technomancer out of a squad of Wraiths before shooting at it with everything else can be really nasty. So these guys have a anti-infantry weapon, the Radium Carbine. 3 shots, anti-infantry 4 up. That's a roll. They're going to be moving to get up towards objectives. If they're near a unit, they reduce the OC value. So these guys are ones that can really mess with objective control games out there on the board and are going to be an earlier play, an earlier push, and one of the units that's going to get removed first. They don't have a scout move, which is important, and it's something we'll talk about after, but they will be able to still zone out and blockade for other units in my army as they're moving up the field. And last, we have 4 squads of Skitarii Rangers. Now, 1 squad of the Skitarii Rangers has just a Transuranic Arquebus and no other rifles, for one reason. I need more Ranger models. I don't want to bust up any of mine because they're finished and painted. So this week I'm going to be picking up a couple more so I can get a couple of plasmas and arc rifles. I got the guns, I just need the bases and the models. However, it's not going to hurt that much. The 1 squad of Rangers that does not have the arc rifle or the plasma revolver is probably going to use its scout move to get into a position to as well be a wall and a shield to prevent early charges on my combat units. The other 3 are going to use that scout move to get into strong positions so that I can fire at things like vehicles. If I hit a vehicle with a good solid shot from the neutron laser of the Dune Crawler, I have arc rifles to possibly finish it off. Again, Transuranic Arquebus to be able to possibly snipe characters is a strength 7 AP2 D3 damage weapon. It could put a hit on a vehicle and could do the damage. And then we have plasma. On top of the fact of just how many buckets of dice we have with the Ranger rifles. This squad sits still, they're going to be hitting on 2s. It's just volume and weight of dice. And range too. 30-inch range is pretty nice. Now, with the Vanguard moving up and being up the field, these guys will drop below the priority change. Even though they have the weapons, they'll be in cover. They have other benefits. One thing I did not mention, with all 6 of my infantry squads, they all will have omni specs. So they will be ignoring cover. There's a lot of firepower to come down from these. A lot of it is going to be the bog down strats. These guys are going to be playing the secondary game. And that we're going to talk about more in the tactics section here at the end of this video. These guys, there's a lot for them now, especially with the change in Doctrina and just all the different guns that they have. All right, everyone, that is the list. Now let's talk some tactics. Whew. All right. Talked about a lot of Ad Mech right there and what I'm playing. So the way I look at things, and the reason my mindset with this list and the tactic is, the scout move allows me to move ranger squads in front of things like Dragoons and the robots, making it very difficult for combat armies to rush in and hit my Dragoons and robots on their terms because there's so much fodder in the way. With that, the Dragoons and robots hit back very, very hard with different stratagems I'm able to use. So good, strong, solid forefront close combat units can get hit back just as strong and in some ways stronger and removed, allowing my combat units, my strongest combat units, to control center earlier in the play. Now, as well with that too, as those strong combat units progress more and more, we're not talking about taking 6 infantry squads, both infiltrators, and putting it all on the front line and waiting until my opponent removes them. No, we're talking about the infiltrators, maybe 1 squad of them, the rangers, another squad of them, and just blocking for that early point. Once those combat units get up in the forefront, those are going to be something that is going to need to have answers to it immediately. And if they don't get answers to those things quickly, my infantry and everything else, the infiltrators, the rangers, even the Engineseers that are walking around with the Dune Crawlers are going to continue to hit objectives, score points, and continue to keep that scoreboard rolling to a point that once my opponent does eliminate my front and starts pushing through my units, they look at the board and realize it is too late. I've covered the scoreboard too far. I'm not as worried about it. I've hit the early turns very quickly, and we're good to go. That is the plan with this list. A lot of things that have changed with the new Doctrina. A lot of the list mindset has changed with that Doctrina. Early on, I was running heavier with the robots. Unfortunately, because there's not any real reliability or way to shoot and complete actions, I had to reduce down the number of robots I took. Again, I was looking at the Hunters cohort as well as the Cybernetica, and it came down to the stratagems. The strats that I have access to with the vehicle units that I want to use are massive. There are 6 of them. And out of those 6 stratagems, you have the boosted movement with the plus to advance and the plus to the movement. The robots and the Dragoons make massive use out of that, with the Dragoons being able to just soar across the board into something so fast. You have the boosted ballistic skill, not as important, but it can be. It's nice to have it there for the simple fact that when I switch into the Assault Doctrina, I do have a stratagem for 1 CP to have both Doctrina up, but now this is an option for something else like the robots or the Dune Crawler to get the 3-up ballistic skill back. You have a 6-up Feel No Pain. I don't need to explain that one. A 6-up Feel No Pain for 1 CP to give that unit it. That'd be great for the robots. That'll be great for the Dragoons. Just to go, okay, you know what? I'm going to move this guy's up here, spend a command point. You have a Feel No Pain, especially on the Dragoons. Go, oh, okay, you have a Feel No Pain of a 6-up, then roll, oh, I got a 5. Now I get the command point back. It's a nice added boost. Thinking down the train. Oh, when I'm damaged, if a unit is damaged, that means the Dune Crawler takes a single wound. I can go into 1 CP for full rerolls to hit. The robots, I have to lose 1, but if I lose 1, now I'm full rerolls to hit there. And that also transpires over into the Dragoons as well. Now, yeah, sorry, I walk away for a second because I want to grab my codex just to make sure. because as I'm saying this, we're talking in combat too. This is the Skitarii Hunters cohort. That was it. So you're talking full rerolls to hit. Think about this with the Dragoons too. Like if I lose one Dragoon, because it is one unit from your army is below strength until the start of your next command phase. Each time the model in the unit makes an attack, you can re-roll the hit roll. So when we get to the point that the Dragoons lose one model out of the 3-man, that's one command point. Full re-rolls into that sustain too. Very nice, very strong. And then we have, like I said, we have the ability to go double Doctrina. It's both Doctrina that you have. Nice. The bonus AP, having the weapon skill, having the ballistic skill as well. That's nice, especially for the robots, to be able to have both of those up there. And then last of the strats is the one that, and that's the thing, it's like this is an army that all of the strats are ones that I want to use. And then last out of it, as I flip back to it, we have fall back and still shoot and ignore any modifiers. Probably the weakest one of it, but it's there, it's available, something for the Dune Crawlers if need be. Yeah, it's still there. This is an army though that a lot of times you look at an army, it's like, okay, cool, I'm happy if I have like 2 or 3 good strats. This detachment, I have 5 options to use outside of the standard strats. Adeptus Mechanicus. I have a lot of high hopes for it. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. If you're curious on some of the things I've said or some of the things I'm trying to play with, let me know. Have the conversation, let you guys know. I will, like I said, I'm not going to make any changes to this roster. I will be playing this game on this list on Monday. And then from there, after that game, I will be taking your guys' opinions as well as what I see from the game into effect before I make changes before I head to the tournament. All right. As I always like to say, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.